Ahoy to the Autodrome in Most. Welcome back. This is race weekend day 2 and we are so excited to see the trucks back in the grid. And with me is Tom O'Rourke. He's a very special character, I would say, because your story is so interesting from MV Commercial, because you came from being a fan to sponsor and then finally became a driver. How did that happen?
Basically, there's a big truck festival in the UK they call Convoy in the Park, and we took our hospitality facility there and a few ready-to-go trucks, and we exhibited there. And I'd never seen trucks racing before, and one of my friends says, "Listen, we're going to go and watch the truck racing." To be honest, I wasn't that bothered at the time, so I went down to watch the race, and I seen 20 tractor units coming at 100 miles an hour into the first corner. I thought, wow, how good is that? And I got kind of hooked from there, So that's really how it came about. That's how it started.
I had the same feeling, I must admit. As soon as I was here, I got catched up. You described the feeling. Luke Garrett will be driving for you. You will share the position in the truck, and the FIA approved that. What is behind that?
It's basically just a bandwidth issue with time. We run a fairly big business and I'm actively involved in the business. So for me, it's a great platform, truck racing, to develop our brand. And that's the most important thing. And the driving to a degree is secondary. However, once you get the passion for it, that changes a bit. So it's just really trying to manage an ever-changing timetable. We've made a big acquisition in the past week, which I can't say for confidential reasons, but within the next week, we're going to take over a major business in England. And so my circumstances are changing. So I won't have the same time to race. And I think as well, the European Championship is a lot more advanced than the UK. The race time, for example's, double, So from a fitness point of view as well, I just want to kind of grow into it a wee bit rather than do the full championship. So I thought, Luke, he's 3 times Group 2 champion and or Division 2 champion in the UK. And I think it will take a fair amount of adjustment to adjust to racing the Group 1 truck. So yesterday had a few reliability problems, but I think we'll get there, You've got to start off somewhere.
Yeah, you need a wee bit of training, as you said. How did you train for being a truck racer? Lots of sports needed.
Well, I was quite fortunate. The British champion sort of took me out for 3 or 4 days, and sort of taught me the basics. And from there, you just spend a wee bit of time on the simulator, and that was 2 years ago, of course. I think I've done 9 or 10 events. So, but a long way to go and a lot to learn, really, So I'm an old rookie, so it'll take, the older you are, obviously, the harder it is to learn as well, So, but no, I'm looking forward to it. It's great. But the European scene's fantastic, It's like Formula One, really, isn't it?
It is, of course, the Formula One of truck racing. For me, the rookie of the year. When will we see you in the truck back again?
I think Luke's going to. Initially, I was going to race at Zolder, but I'm not going to make that weekend, unfortunately. So probably Le Mans, I would think, would be. I think everybody's lifetime ambition is to do Le Mans, isn't it? So probably Le Mans will be my next event. And I'll be racing in Snetterton in the UK. The other thing, of course, we have a big UK fan base. So, or the brand has, not me in particular, but so we'll have quite a lot of customers at Snetterton, so I'm kind of under pressure to go there, So we're taking the truck from Zolder to Snetterton and back to we're working one truck between 2 countries, or several countries, really,
Thank you very much for the inside perspective. Keep my fingers crossed. This was Tom O'Rourke, ladies and gentlemen. And now you can switch between commentaries, between German and English. It's Chaz Draycott and Joachim Eberts for you right now in the pit lane.
Thank you very much, Christina. Yes, hello everybody. Good morning and welcome to another fantastic day's racing here at Autodrome Most in the FIA European Truck Racing Championship. My name is indeed Chaz Draycott and I'm delighted to be back on the coverage with these guys, making sure that you are all as well informed as could possibly be and hopefully entertained as well, but the trucks do most of that, to be honest. They are amazing to watch around here and so much fun with the flow of this circuit as well. 21 corners here at Autodrom Most, a circuit that was built between 1978 and 1983. Still hosting to this day the World Superbike Championship, the European Truck Racing Championship, of course, and the other races going on this weekend include Euro NASCAR as well. It did used to host some rounds of the European Le Mans Series as well, back in the early to mid-2000s, but that, unfortunately, is a distant memory for now. But we go straight back to Christina, who's found another wonderful person in the paddock to speak to. She's good at that.
Not yet, to be honest, but I wanted to show you the pictures.
Apologies.
No problem. You're a wonderful person I'm talking to right now. Because you mentioned the NASCAR series, and you might be wondering why the trucks aren't already here. And as you see, there are a little bit of issues to getting those cars back in their boxes, of course, and this is just what I wanted to tell you. So just a bit of a patience, and we are ready to take off here.
Yeah, indeed. Those pesky Euro NASCAR drivers, Those pesky Euro NASCAR drivers. I have a few friends that used to race in that series as well, and it's a very, very entertaining championship in itself. But they're not quite the 5-ton machines with 1,200 horsepower and over 5,000 Newton meters of torque that we're going to be watching today. No, they are not. The trucks have such a different attitude about them, the way they handle themselves on a circuit, the way that the drivers drive them. We saw Sascha Lenz yesterday. We were on board with him, doing most of the lap with just one hand. His right hand on the gear stick, ready to change up or down. And it was amazing to watch just how much lock he gets on with one hand while still remaining comfortable behind the wheel, or at least what looked comfortable. We sit on board with Sascha's number 30 truck here. Didn't have too bad a day yesterday, did Sascha Lenz. Second place in the first race. 7th in race 2, though. Still decent championship points, but unfortunately for him, that's a lot lower down than Norbert Kish was. And they started on the same row of the grid. He actually started in front of Norbert Kish, but Norby used his experience and his pace to move forward very, very quickly. The championship, though, after yesterday, is currently... Actually, we have pictures from yesterday, apologies. We'll have a quick look and see what we've got. But Sascha Lenz actually still leads the championship by 1 point from Norbert Kish. This was Norbert yesterday disappearing up the road. Sascha putting in every effort that he could to get back behind him. But these were the conditions in qualifying. Look at the weather. It was absolutely horrendous, but only at one end of the circuit, to be honest. We had a big hit between Janiak and Jochen Hahn. Luckily, both of them absolutely fine. The trucks were repaired very quickly. Christina spoke to Anthony Janiak yesterday after that big hit, which destroyed the right rear wheel. But she spoke to him and he said that the team worked very, very quickly on getting it fixed. And he was really grateful for the fantastic turnaround that his team had. But the championship, like I say, still in the hands of Sascha Lenz at the moment, but only 1 point ahead of Norbert Kish. The two of them then 11 points clear of Adam Lachko, and he has a 10-point buffer over Antonio Albacete in 4th place. But the very interesting news from yesterday, Norbert Kish won yesterday's second race on the road, but an incident on the final lap between him and Andrei Kurzim that would ultimately give him the lead was determined to be an unfair advantage, and Norbert was given a 10-second penalty, to which Theo Calve inherited second place, and Andrei Kurzim inherited his race win. That helps Kurzim now in the championship and puts him up to 9th on 19 points. He only had, I think, 3 or 5 points before the weekend, so it's a big boost for him. Jochen Hahn, a driver that didn't have a good day yesterday, the 6-time champion, was in trouble in race 1. A bit of contact damaged the truck and he wasn't able to make the progress that he'd like to in the second race of the day, and he only grabbed 1 point all day. So he's going to be wanting more now. He's down into 6th in the championship, 6 points behind Steffi Halm, who is in 5th. And there you see the Euro NASCAR machinery after being dragged back from whatever gravel trap they ended up in. Here is Stefan Fast looking to make some progress as well today. Stefan, unfortunately, didn't finish the first race. I'm not quite sure what happened, but he got up to 13th in race 2. So Stefan will want some big championship points from today. He currently sits 12th in the championship on 6 points. And keep an eye out as well for Lucas Hahn. And we have Christina there with the NASCAR machines.
Yes, still there and still on the podium. So the ceremony is ongoing. But let's have a look. I could give you an inside perspective here, because at the final of the race, you already mentioned it, Norbert Kisch was there, here parking in front of the first position. And those are the marks they set up. I'm directly here. 1, 2, 3. Everything is prepped exactly for the race. So you see there's a little bit of action then going on after the race. You should pull those things up to here, maybe a bit back. But that's the inside perspective from me from here right now, because we're still missing all the trucks.
Yes, indeed. It does seem like an age since we've had trucks in the pit lane, to be honest, but it's so much fun covering this championship that honestly, the overnight wait is long enough for me. I always just wonder what's going to happen next. And when can we finally get going? There's a driver worth looking at today. Lucas Hahn, son of Jochen. You can see Jochen's truck in the background, the number 1 machine. The two father and son drivers out there sharing the circuit this weekend. It's great to have Lucas back with us in the championship. He got a podium in the Goodyear Cup last season. There's Jamie Anderson in the number 33 truck, just in front of Sasha Lenz. The two of them basically identical liveries, but one's bright green, one's bright blue. Sasha Lenz, of course, championship leader. Jamie Anderson at the moment, 6th in the championship overall. But if you look at the Goodyear Cup, it's very close indeed between the top couple. Theo Calve now 2 points clear of Shane Brereton. And then Stefan Faust and Jamie Anderson only 1 point apart, a little bit further down. The trucks are just being organised now. And trust me, it's a lot easier for me to say that than it is to do. They're just being organised in the paddock before they go out for qualifying 2. So we'll have the qualifying session itself, and then the top 10 go back out shortly after for the Super Pole, which will determine the starting positions on the grid for just the top 10. But you can see how large and how amazingly easy these machines are to cover in sponsors. To be honest, they're fantastic real estate for beautiful logos and liveries. I always say that racing machines that have more bodywork and more panels on them are often the prettiest because of the fact that you can put more logos and things on them. And Stefan Faust leaves one of the humongous awnings that they have here in the paddock. That's another thing. Everything is bigger and better in truck racing, I say. And to be honest, the awnings and wherever the trucks are kept for each team, each area is just absolutely massive. And we head back down to Christina in the pit lane.
Finally, I found someone for you, Chaz. It's Sven Walter, engineering from Don't Touch Racing. We were going to have a chat in German. Don't Touch Racing ist ja so ein bisschen Programm gewesen gestern. Allerdings, es gab eine 10-sekündige Strafe für Norbert Kisch. Wie zufrieden seid ihr damit?
Ich bin damit sehr zufrieden. Wir haben hart gekämpft, das ganze Rennen, und war sehr spannend gewesen. André hat sehr überzeugend die erste Position verteidigt, und damit bin ich mit dem Endergebnis sehr zufrieden, weil der Anstoß hinten links am Reifen zwangsläufig dazu geführt hat für das Überholmanöver.
So I was talking about the incident yesterday. Of course, you mentioned it earlier, Chaz, that Norbert Kisch got a 10-second penalty as he overtook André Kurzem in the final lap yesterday at the race. And I asked, are they really happy about the decision right now? Because André Kurzem got now the podium place number 1. And he said yes, because he was very defensive there and he had a good driving yesterday. So it was really, I think your colleague is making fun of you, isn't he? It was really fun watching. Also, während dein Kollege ein bisschen Spaß gemacht hat, jetzt mal zum Ernst der Sache. Was erwartet ihr jetzt von dem Qualifying?
Ja, zum Qualifying erwarten wir, dass wir erst im Qualifying in die Top 10 kommen, und dann erwarte ich mir irgendwo zwischen 4 und 6 Platzierungen.
So the strategy for the qualifying will be, firstly, of course, getting a kind of position in between 1 and 10, and then going to the Super Bowl, something between 1 and 4th, I would say. How many laps are you going to need? Wie viele Runden wollt ihr dafür benutzen?
Ich denke mal, dass wir im ersten Qualifying ca. 2 bis 3 Runden brauchen werden, und in der Superpole werden wir die 4 Runden, was so Pi mal Daumen 4 Runden funktionieren werden.
Vielen Dank, good luck. So he's saying that during the first qualifying seconds. They're going to need some 2 or 3 laps to get into the first 10 positions, and then at the Super 4, maybe 4 laps, and then of course the fastest lap, and he's hoping to get a position between 1 and 4.
Thank you, Christina. And as we saw yesterday during qualifying in the first part of the session before Superpole, a lot of these drivers would put a time in that they knew would get them safely into the top 10. And then they would just sit in the pit lane, save the tyres, save the engine. No point putting any more strain on the truck. You just need to get the lap in that you need. And once you've got that, there's no point taking the extra risk. Some of them are that confident that they will do those sorts of times. We're back on board with Stefan Fast. That's René Reiner just in front of us as everybody filters their way out of the paddock into the pit lane. This is what's known as the staging area, essentially, or the dummy grid, as it's often called in things like karting. There was Luke Garrett in the 86, Antonio Albacete. He's a real dark horse at the moment, is Antonio. Came into the race meeting 4th in the championship and still sits there at the moment behind the likes of Adam Lachko, Norbert Kisch and Sasha Lenz. There's Stefan Faas in the Tank Pool 24 truck as we go on board with Stefan now. Now there's this very intriguing chicane in the pit lane to make sure that people aren't going too quickly, where of course all the official vehicles, medical cars and course cars and all sorts are. Chicanes in pit lanes have become more and more common, to be honest, as it does slow people down on the way in, because it's quite a long straight here at Autodrom Most. So if you did come out of the final corner and get your foot down into the pit lane, should anything go wrong, you would be arriving on the scene at very high speed. So I'm all for these chicanes in the pit lanes. And now the pit lane is open, so everybody making their way back out on track. Sasha Lenz is the first of them to go. And this is how tight turns 1 and 2 are. This first chicane, very, very narrow indeed when you're in a 5-ton truck. But he's going to use all of that power and all of that torque to punch his way out of the corner. There's Shane Brayton in the number 17 TOR truck racing machine, the Apollo Tyres branded truck. Shane, one of the favourites for the Goodyear Cup at the moment, sitting second in that championship, 2 points off Teo Calve. Andre Kurzim just behind, off the back of an inherited race win yesterday. As Christina spoke to one of his team members there, they're aiming to get into Superpole and then hopefully get in one of the front 2 rows on the grid. But today we're going to be looking a little bit more at some of the trucks a bit further down the order. We had some amazing battles going on yesterday with them. Jochen Hahn was great to watch, making his way through the order. He also had to defend very hard in the first race as well before it unfortunately went downhill for him. But we follow the bright purple number 17 MAN of Shane Brayton for the moment. And everybody's just trying to find their own little bit of track to try and get some clear air and be able to go for it in a lap, because we spoke to some of the drivers yesterday and they were saying that they got held up on their fast laps by other trucks taking it a little bit easier than them into the chicane and losing time through some of the windier sections like this, turns 15 and 16. And everybody just filtering their way through. That's the thing. You've got Antonio Albacete there. I think he's right behind Teo Calve. Not sure if he's going to be able to use all of the clear air. You've got Heinrich Clemens Hecker in there as well, who celebrated his birthday during the week. René Reiner cares not for that, though. He's going straight through. There is the number 25. Clemens Hecker racing. He's got Stefan Faas wondering whether he should try and go through. Now, this is the bit where it all bottlenecks, because everybody slows down a lot towards the end of the lap. And you can see now, it's almost like they're filtering back into the pit lane. They're at such a slow pace. Look at this now. They've pretty much come to a stop to make sure that they can all get a smooth run out of these final couple of corners. This is just on the exit of turn 19. Got the long right-hander of turn 20. And then you've got to keep the pace up around the outside of turn 21 onto the start-finish straight. But the clock ticks down then. 16 and a half minutes left of the session. Stefan Faas has got some good real estate now between himself and Heinrich Clemens Hecker. And there goes Hecker. And you'll see the penalty markers there, which are effectively more physical track limits bollards to sort of deter the drivers from running wide. Now, if you do hit those, you get warnings, and eventually you get a drive-through penalty on your third warning. We had one yesterday, unfortunately, for Luke Garrett in the number 86 MV Commercial Truck Racing machine. And on his way out of the pit lane, he actually went over the white line as well. And look at the way these things get out of that chicane. It's so impressive to see. I repeat myself from yesterday, and I do that a lot, but if you haven't seen truck racing like this in person, I urge you to go and experience it. Even if you've just popped onto the stream to see what truck racing is like, and you think this might not be for you, honestly, I urge you to go and see it. It is an absolute joy. Before I started covering this championship, I'd never really put too much effort into watching truck racing, but honestly, when I started looking back through highlights and so on and preparing for this championship, I fell in love, and I still am madly in love with this sort of racing. And Tom O'Rourke was earlier speaking about the British Truck Racing Championship as well, and I went to commentate on that at Thruxton here in the UK, and it's just the same sort of vibe. It's absolutely awesome. Tom O'Rourke obviously racing in that series as well. I met Tom, and I could only just understand him, as I'm sure all you could at home, but he's a fantastic bloke and a great team as well. Now that was Alia Kolok. I listened to her fantastic interview with Will Buxton that she did. Bulgaria Racing sharing that on their social media. And Stefan Faas then up to pace now. Now this is completely different to how we were a lap ago. We were almost stationary here last time. Someone that is almost stationary, is that René Reiner, was it, that was going slowly? It is René Reiner staying out of everybody's way on the right hand side. This is turn 20. Long right-hander. Stefan putting his foot down, and he's going to complete his first lap of the session. It's Norbert Kish that's fastest at the moment by 0.4 of a second from Jochen Hahn, and Jochen needs that. Jochen really has to get that Iveco S-Way dialed in this weekend to make sure that he doesn't fall too far behind in the championship. Sasha Lenz is third, nearly 0.7 off, but then it's almost a second difference to Theo Calve. It's like what we had yesterday, really. The top four yesterday were over a second faster than everybody else. There is Stefan Faas. You can see the steam coming out of the bottom of the cab there. That could either be from water that gets sprayed onto the radiators to cool the engine more actively, or water that gets sprayed onto the brakes. The drivers have control over all of that from in the cockpit. So not only are they trying to brake properly, steer properly, and change down to the correct gear, but all the time they're cooling the brakes, cooling the engine as well. So corner entry in these things is not straightforward. That's Jamie Anderson just in front of Stefan Faas, trying to get out of his way as best he can. Does a good job of it too. And that is Alia Kolok just staying over to the right-hand side there as well before turn 13. Now what you'll see here is a lot of drivers have put a fast lap in, like Norbert Kish is going slowly, Adam Lachko, Steffi Halm, pretty much all of these drivers now sort of chilling out, or as chilled as you could be, on this second lap round, because they've got their times in. They're going to just let the truck cool down, they're going to let the tyres get back to a better operating temperature, make sure they're not overheated, and then they're going to get back on with it and go for another fast one. A lot of them will come into the pit lane, like I mentioned before. They will try and just keep it nice and calm in the pit lane, and they'll be happy with the times they've got. Lucas Hahn currently 10th at the moment, just behind Brereton. Kurzim is 8th, so the mission that he mentioned earlier, or at least that his team mentioned earlier, is a success so far. Just under 12 minutes left to go. There's Anthony Janiak in the very bright yellow number 66 Lion Truck Racing machine. Then René Reiner, then Luke Garrett, and then Alia Kolok in the what is probably one of my favourite looking trucks in the field, to be fair. The Bagheera Racing Freightliner, fantastic looking machine. There's 3 of them in the field. Adam Lachko, Teo Calve, and of course, Alia Kolok, who we saw there. Here's Antonio Albertetti. Like I told you, 4th in the championship at the moment. 22 points off Sasha Lenz. But certainly not too far off. On the pace, big lock-up though on the way into turn 10. He's certainly pushing hard here. Just trying to see where he is in the order. He's actually 11th at the moment, it's Albertetti, so he needs to get on with it. He's 2.3 seconds off. 2 minutes 4.2. Pole position at the moment is a 2 minutes 1.9, as you see on the left-hand side of your screen from Norbert Kisch. Look at these things really motoring down towards turn 15. That does count as turn 14 that he's just gone through there. It's a long left kink. But Antonio, the Spaniard, throwing that truck into the right hand, then to the left. You can see the lean of how hard he's pushing this thing. Quickly through turn 17. It's a lot tighter than it looks, turn 17. And then hard on the power, smooth out the line around 18 and 19. There goes Shane Brereton. Stefan Faas just behind him on the road as well. And yeah, there's only a couple of them from the top 10 that aren't in the pits, actually. Looks like Janiak's on a slow in-lap. But only Brereton, Lucas Hahn and Janiak have stayed out from those that are in the top 10. Antonio Albertetti knows he should be in the top 10, as one of the penalty markers has gone flying by the look of it. What can Antonio do with his time? Moves up to 6th. 6th place, 1.8 seconds off. But he will be much happier to be inside the top 10 and, of course, advancing to Super Pole if it stays that way. Now, Lucas Hahn, unfortunately, on his return to the championship, has been knocked out of the top 10. Is there any way that he can get back up there? But that looked very, very feisty from Antonio Albertetti. He was flying around there then. And it's one of those circuits where you have to have your rhythm about you. It flows so quickly from one way to the other. And now Stefan Faas looks like he's on a fast lap here, so Antonio might have to get out of the way. There's Jamie Anderson. Jamie Anderson currently down in 13th position in his MAN. As he's got to go around the outside of Shane Brereton, fellow Brit. They've both been on the podium twice this weekend in the Goodyear Cup. And now who's that on the outside? That's Lucas Hahn. Jamie has to take a tighter line. Oh, I'm not sure Jamie would have been too pleased with that one. Lucas did everything he could to stay out of the way, though. But Jamie has definitely abandoned that lap now, it's safe to say. So it's still Kish from Hahn, Lenz. Calve, fantastic in 4th place. Teo Calve is flying this weekend. Obviously, Goodyear Cup leader now for the drivers that are in the Chrome category. Shane Brereton is 6th overall. René Reiner has gone up into 5th place. So Albertetti suddenly back down to 8th behind Steffi Halm. Then Janiak is 9th. Lachko 10th. He's just on the brink. And unfortunately, Andre Kurzim, truck 11, is P11 at the moment. But there's not enough room in the top 10 for all the good guys. So many fantastic people in this championship. Now Jamie needs to get out of the way here because Ali is flying around turn 18. That could have been a close one, I think. Not sure whether Jamie did completely clear the corner before Alia would have had to lift, just in case. But the number 29 Czech driver in that Freightliner was really flying. But there's 2 Chrome drivers in the top 10 at the moment. Yesterday's grid was a perfect split between the Tin and Chrome drivers. Titan drivers 1st to 9th, and then Chrome drivers from 10th down to 17th. And that is Jochen Hahn's truck being worked on. There you can see the size of the engines in these trucks. Most of them are 13-litre engines with humongous turbochargers on them, producing about 1,200 brake horsepower and over 5,000 Newton meters of torque. A new time goes in from Janiak and it puts him 4th. So Janiak improves up into 4th place now. Albacete down to 9th, Halm down to 8th. René Reiner going very well indeed. Where did René qualify yesterday? He qualified 9th for the first race, actually. And finished in 10th. He then started race 2, obviously 10th, with the second grid being the result from race 1. And he finished down in 14th in race 2, actually. He didn't have the best of times in race 2. There's Luke Garrett flying around the long turn 4. Into turn 6 and 7, he chucks it in. You can hear the tyres screaming. The MV Commercial Truck Racing Team machine. Turbos are plenty as well, whistling away. This is Janiak now after that great lap, putting him 4th. Still a second off the truck ahead of him. He's now going to go back to the pits. Adam Lachko knows that he's on the brink here. He's 10th at the minute, so he needs to get on with it. Lachko putting his foot down hard. He doesn't want to get caught out and miss out on Superpole. He's already up the road. Let's see what he's got in terms of his sector times. He's about half a second quicker than a lot of the trucks behind him. Yeah, he's only getting a couple of tenths here or there. Is Lachko, it's his home race, and of course Bagheera Racing's home race. But Janiak in that very, very bright yellow machine. Hard to miss, Anthony Janiak. He had some strong races yesterday. He qualified 5th yesterday morning for race 1. Finished in 6th place. I believe there was contact between himself and Jochen Hahn, which is what dropped both of them behind Steffi Halm, who took 5th place. Albacete knows he's on the brink as well now. You can see him going back for it. Here's Adam Lachko going across the line. Where does he pop up to? 4th place. 4th place for Adam Lachko, 1.1 seconds off. But still a great time indeed. And that now pushes Kurzim... Sorry, it doesn't push Kurzim down, actually. Kurzim stays 11th. Because Lachko went up from 10th. So Albacete is now the truck at risk. You've got to love those Freightliners, haven't you? It's such a sort of traditional shape. Brilliant. Really brilliant looking truck. Much smaller cabs in those trucks though. Obviously the cab doesn't extend all the way to the front with the engine being up front. I've sat in a similar racing truck of that shape, which was the Volvo Aerodyne, one of which races over here in the UK. And I can tell you that the drivers are so upright and their legs are so bent that you really rely on your ankles a lot to make sure that you have the right angle on the pedals. And it's actually quite straining to have to keep your feet up away from the pedals all that time, so you're not resting on any of them at all. They're not lay down like you would be in something like a Formula 1 car, where your feet are already flat against the pedals. You have to really strain the muscles in your feet to hold them up away from the pedals, because it's like being sat at a desk. You're very upright. And that's what gives me even more respect for the drivers and the fantastic effort they put into race these monstrous machines. That was Luke Garrett there just flying through turn 18, going past René Reiner, who was staying well out of the way. Jamie Anderson trying to put in times now. He's 12th at the moment. He did his best lap last time round, a 2:04.0. Not sure if he's improving yet, judging by the sectors. We'll have to see. He goes for the line, 2:04.049 to beat. No, I believe that was actually an outlap. He's starting a fast lap now, because he was 2 minutes 34 that time round, so half a minute slower. So that to me says that he was just slowing it down, cooling everything, making sure the truck was ready to go for another hot lap, and this now looks like he's on maximum attack. The acceleration there is barely believable, is it? But the gorgeous black and blue Anderson racing machine flinging its way around turn 4, then the little kink at turn 5 down to 6 and 7. That's Heinrich Clemens Hecker just behind him. Jamie pushing hard now through 8 and 9. Hard onto the brakes into the hairpin at turn 10. It's easy to lose momentum here and not get the right gear on the way out. You can hear Jamie sort of short shifting on the way out of turn 10, which is interesting, but it means that he doesn't have to waste time shifting through the likes of turns 12 and 13. Gets onto the brakes here for 13. Probably staying in the same gear on the way out. There he is, absolutely powering down to turn 15. I love that camera angle there. Really shows you the pace of these things. And now he'll arrive from the right into turn 16. Long left-hander, almost 180 degree, I should say, left-hander. And the right kink at turn 17, and then flat out round 18 and 19, double apex left-hander. He's going to arrive on the scene at turns 20 and 21. Just about misses the penalty marker there on the exit. And again through the final corner. Anderson currently 12th. Does he improve? He's going to be able to get another one in if he dares do 2 in a row. And he does not improve, a 2:04.8. And trucks 24 and 86 have been onto the penalty markers. So that is Stefan Faas and Luke Garrett. Luke Garrett got in a bit of trouble yesterday with those penalty markers, unfortunately. But it's a real shame for Jamie Anderson. Doesn't make it into Super Pole. But 12th will be the best he can manage at the moment. So a number of them staying in. But Janiak's back out. Calve's back out. René Reiner back out as well. So there's a couple of them making their way around. Jamie Anderson now just slowing down. And Heinrich Clemens Hecker has had his lap, I should say, deleted for track limits. That's the truck we look at right now. You can see him pumping the steam, well, pumping the water onto the brakes, which generates all that steam, trying to cool them down. This is all just about managing temperatures now as they make their way around what will be their in laps, because the session is going to tick to 0 now. There we go. So that will be it for qualifying 2. We will have Super Pole coming up very shortly, but Norbert Kish with a 2 minutes 1.9, almost half a second faster than Jochen Hahn. But that's much more promising from Jochen. He did put it on the front row yesterday, but from there everything went downhill for him, unfortunately, in both the races. And he was only able to salvage 1 point all day. He's going to want a lot more from that today. You can see Alia Kolok still going for it, actually. She's going to complete her lap, and is she going to improve on her position? Currently in 15th position, does not improve, unfortunately. 2:05.3 last time around. Best time 2:04.8. That's Theo Calve, who's just on. And we have Christina back down in the pit lane.
Yes, thankfully we're here with Jan Kalivoda, team chef of Bagheera Racing. 3 drivers on the pitch right now. So how happy are you with their individual positions?
We are progressing. Important is that 2 drivers are qualified, and now we are waiting for the Super Bowl.
Alia Kolok ranked 15th, I think, or is it true?
I think more important than the position is the time, that she really improved from yesterday. Slightly tense are dividing her from better positions, but she's young and she has to learn.
Yes, for sure. She is learning. That sounds really great. And Adam Latchko and Theo Calve, what are you expecting from them in the Super Bowl?
Of course, we are targeting the best places, but the competition here is very, very tough. And Theo is really showing that he is progressing every event higher and higher. And Adam is a little bit struggling with the setup, because yesterday was very difficult to make a proper setup. Once it was dry, once wet. It was really difficult. So, and this game didn't play well for him. But hopefully today will be better.
What is your setup for today? I mean, right now it seems it's sunny, but you never know.
So far it's normal dry, but we will see for the race. But right now the important is the position. So we have to get the best out of it.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
See you soon. Back to you, Chess.
Thank you, Christina. And yeah, like he mentioned there, Alia Kolok really improving time after time. So too Teo Calve. I mentioned Teo. He's qualified 5th overall in that session. And bearing in mind that there are the 2 classes in this championship, Titan and Chrome, which is effectively Pro and Am. Drivers that are rated in the Titan category are anyone that's been a champion in the last 10 years or have finished in the top 8 in the standings in the previous season, or have qualified higher than 6th in any Super Pole sessions last season. So Teo could cement himself with another Titan classification for the following season if he keeps that up. But Christina's back down in the pit lane.
Yes, with Sven Walter, we talked earlier. You wanted to achieve 10th position at least, and now you're ranked 11th. Ihr seid jetzt auf dem 11. Rang. Was ist passiert?
Ja, 1, 2 kleine Fahrfehler waren vom André drin gewesen und das Setup haben wir heute leider nicht optimal hinbekommen. Dadurch, dass die Strecke jetzt komplett trocken ist, die Erfahrungswerte aus Most für uns nicht so viel Erfahrungswerte wir nicht haben, weil wir im Most immer ein bisschen Pech hatten, haben wir nicht das optimale Setup heute gefunden.
It's a mixture of between bad luck and also 1 or 2 issues the drivers had on the grid. It was not his best performance today. Was hofft ihr euch jetzt für das Rennen? What are your hopes for the race?
Wir werden jetzt schnell die Daten noch analysieren und werden ein paar Einstellungen vornehmen, um dann zu schauen, dass wir im Rennen wesentlich noch auf Platz 8 oder 7 vorkommen, im zweiten Rennen von Pole zu starten zu können.
Okay. Thank you very much. So 1 or 2 adjustments technical-wise. They will now analyze the data, of course, what went wrong. And so they're aiming for a position during the race in between rank 1 until 8, because during, that reverse grid, trying to get a better position for race 2 this day.
Yeah, that's the thing. When you get reverse grids in a championship, you really have to try and not exploit the format, but play the game. There's a lot of championships that I love watching on TV that have reverse grids, and sometimes they're random draws, other times they are guaranteed positions like we have here in the FIA European Truck Racing Championship. So you know that if you get 8th position, you will be on pole for the following race, obviously pending any penalties or anything else that may happen. But Teo Calve was very happy yesterday knowing that he would get reversed onto pole position for the second race. And as Christina mentioned there, Andrei Kurzim is certainly going to be aiming for 8th. So he needs to gain 3 places off the start and put his best efforts in from there on out. You can see Andrei's truck just on the right of shot there, the white and yellow machine. He'll be really gutted to have missed out on that by just a couple of tenths of a second. Either way, trucks are now primed and ready to go in the pit lane again. You can see the fans on the left on the banking, a huge number of them here at Most this weekend, and of course officials and family and all sorts on top of the pit lane buildings there. Danke Katja on the right rear wheel arch of Andrei Kurzim's truck. And you can see just everything is bigger and better in truck racing. It's a beautiful example is Andrei Kurzim's Don't Touch Racing Iveco. And the pit lane is open and the session is underway. 10 minutes of qualifying is all these drivers have to set the top 10 positions on the grid. Norbert Kish, quick out of the blocks, to be honest. They go out in the order that they qualified in the previous session. So Lachko and Calve together. Norbert Kish will lead them around. He's got that different sort of honeycomb cut front end on the truck from this race meeting onwards. He says it's been working so far to help cooling and a little bit of airflow around the bodywork on the front of the truck. But obviously these things not too massively affected by aerodynamics as you would expect in something like an open wheeler or a GT car. But still, it does make a difference. And now everyone's just going to do what they did in the first session, really, on their opening lap and just try and find some space, get in the clear air. But Norbert Kish is going to be primed and ready to try and take his 4th pole position of the season. We have qualifying on each day of racing. We had 2 at the Hungaroring, where unfortunately the second race was called off early due to the accident with Stefan Fass. But since then, we've had a number more. So what can Norbert manage then? He's definitely the man on the mission at the moment to try and take back that championship lead from Sascha Lenz. Only 1 point between the pair of them though. So it could get very, very close by the time that this race meeting is done. You can see them all just filtering their way around now. They're all getting into some decent space, to be fair. Although actually, Anthony Janiek, René Reiner, Shane Brereton all quite close together a little bit further down. We'll have to see how they manage those gaps when they get to the end of the lap. I think they're all just probably waiting to see who ends up where. There's Steffi Halm going very slowly indeed. She's just waiting for a bit more real estate. But there goes Norbert Kish. Flying down the straight here at Most. It's quite downhill all the way and then suddenly curves back up again towards turn 1. There is quite a lot of oscillation at this circuit, but they're very smooth hills down and up. So you can't really tell too much, but look at the way Norbert chucks that truck into turns 1 and 2. Fantastic commitment. Different lines to yesterday, obviously being on a dry track this time, as opposed to the torrential rain that we had during qualifying yesterday that brought out the red flag as numbers of trucks went spinning off. But Norbert now leading them down into turns 6 and 7. Now he'll keep it turning right here as he goes through 8 and 9. Doesn't use all of the road there, interestingly. He's taking a bit of a tight line down the inside compared to some others. He's gone a little bit hot into the hairpin. Almost lifts the rear wheels off the ground then. He was stopping the truck that hard. But you can visually see from watching Norbert Kish drive around this circuit that he is the man to beat at the moment. The body language of that truck really speaks volumes. The way it dances around through the corners, the way it just bolts out of each corner individually as well. Down the not quite straight to turn 15, throws it in. Again, that right rear wheel almost coming off the ground. He's got it set up so soft on those front corners. Jochen Hahn not too far off him either, to be fair. Jochen's actually a 10th quicker in Sector 2. And Lenz is even 2/10 quicker than Kish in Sector 2. I think that might be down to the hairpin, you know. Looked to me like he went in a little bit hot. This could be very close, although Lenz was about 6/10 slower in Sector 1. So, for me at the moment, this is between Hahn and Kish. Let's see what the difference is as they cross the line then. Kish is going to get there first, of course. Across the line he goes. Let's just see what the 2 times are. Kish does a 2:01.998. Hahn goes faster. Hahn goes for pole position by 31 thousandths. And apparently Christina is in the pit lane with Andre Kurzim.
Yeah, this is really a bit rare because Andre Kurzim needs to wait here 5 minutes until the super pole is over to finally get the truck back. And nobody is allowed to work on his truck. Im Moment darf keiner bei deinem Truck arbeiten. Du musst hier warten. Was ist das für eine Situation?
Ja, okay, ich sag mal, heute haben wir sicherlich nicht das richtige Setup gefunden. Platz 11 für uns unzufriedenstellend, ja, vor allem nach gestern. Ja, jetzt heißt nochmal arbeiten und versuchen, dass wir im Rennen 1 das Beste draus machen.
As Sven Walter mentioned already, he said also the setup was not right today. And this is so unfortunate because yesterday we were very successful. They're trying to work and give everything for the race. Du musst dann 3 Positionen eigentlich gut machen, wenn du vielleicht eine Chance aufs Reverse Grid haben willst. Wie gehst du es an?
Ja, sicherlich wie die Startphase immer recht spannend. Ja, wir versuchen zu überleben und wenn möglich ja schon die eine oder andere Position vielleicht direkt am Start zu gewinnen und keine zu verlieren. Vor allem hier in Most sehr schwierig, alles sehr eng. 18 LKWs in eine Kurve, das ist immer recht spannend.
Herzlichen Dank. So as he said, we're trying to overtake right from the start. But he says it's so difficult. There are lots of trucks racing around, of course, and he's trying to get not just trying to win some positions, but not trying to lose some positions, and that's important, Chess, too.
Yes, it is indeed, Christina. Like we've seen in the past, it's very, very easy to try and make an overtaking move, but also be on the defensive at the same time and lose positions by just overcooking it with any sort of overtaking moves that you try. Norbert Kish and pretty much everybody else now just cooling it all down, ready to go for a second lap, or potentially even just coming into the pits. But Norbert Kish going very slowly here, certainly making sure everything is cooled down well enough. Nearly half a second between, well, just over half a second between the top three. And then Lachko fourth, Janiak in fifth, Albacete, then Calve doing well in seventh, Reiner in eighth, Brereton ninth, Steffi Halm in 10th at the moment, another 1.2 seconds off ninth position. But 2019, roughly about the sort of time that we saw earlier from these drivers. But now look, they're all going for it again. Jochen Hahn is right behind Norbert Kish at this point. Now, what's this going to do to their lap times? Is Jochen going to get stuck behind him? Is he going to be that much quicker than him? Let's have a look. Is it going to be sort of the pressure that Kish needs to get disappeared up the road? Down the hill they go. It's a very visual comparison of pace, this now. We're not just looking at numbers and times. We're actually seeing visually who is quicker than who. 31 thousandths of a second between the pair of them at the minute. Kish again lifting the right rear off the ground. Round turn 13 they go. Hard on the power down towards turn 15. Jochen Hahn's truck does look so much smaller than Norbert's truck, doesn't it? The Iveco S-Way looks a lot more sort of low slung than the very tall number 41 MAN. But Norbert knows how to chuck that thing around. Look at the weight transfer there. The weight goes one way, then the other. Really looks like he's got that sorted. Jochen's truck looks a lot more flat and stable around the corners. Not quite sure whether that's a good thing or a bad thing for him, but it's already more low slung, so maybe it doesn't need to move the weight around as much. There's Sascha Lenz going through about half a second off at the moment. And across the line they go then. Let's see what they can do, because I don't think they'll go for another one after this. And it's Hahn. Jochen Hahn stays ahead. 17 thousandths of a second is the gap now. Unbelievable stuff. Norbert Kish improves, but only by 15 thousandths of a second. Sorry, 14 thousandths of a second, leaving the gap to be 17 thousandths of a second. So truck one is P1 at the moment, and it's a return to the top step for Jochen Hahn, or at least the top spot in qualifying, by the tiniest of margins. But either way, doesn't matter whether you're faster by a second or a thousandth, you are faster. Sascha Lenz third then, Lachko in fourth, Janiak will line up fifth, Teo Calve goes up to sixth, Antonio Albacete down to seventh, Brereton moves eighth ahead of Reiner, and Steffi Halm improves but stays in 10th, only 600ths of a second off the back of René Reiner. But can you believe that? Jochen Hahn, fantastic stuff to be ahead of Norbert Kish by just a tiny, tiny margin. It's the first time this season that Norbert Kish has not been fastest in Superpole, and Well, who else could you count on to do it but Jochen Hahn? Fantastic by the reigning and 6-time champion after his 7th title this year. He's not had the easiest of rides up to it at the moment. He sort of blows smoke at Norbert there through turn 13, almost to say, in your face. But we know that Jochen's got a fantastic sense of humour anyway. He's a brilliant bloke. And he'll be over the moon with that one. But no matter what sort of racing it is, the margins can always be tiny, even here in truck racing as well. The machines and pretty much everything about it and the numbers are always bigger in truck racing, but not the gaps between the drivers, proving how close the racing is. And Jochen Hahn in that Iveco S-Way potentially starting to become a more consistent front runner again. He's not been as sort of dominant as you'd expect from a 6-time champion so far this season. But I know that him and the team will be very grateful to see that truck at the top of the timing screen. Of course, don't worry about missing any of the action here this weekend. We will have race 1 and race 2 as separate broadcasts across YouTube, Facebook, and all forms of social media throughout the weekend. But in a moment or so, we'll get the reactions from the drivers and teams. And I'm sure Lucas Hahn, of course, son of Jochen, will be very, very excited to congratulate his father on pole position. He's certainly one to keep an eye on as well later on, is Lucas Hahn. And of course, for the future, he got a podium in the Goodyear Cup last season. You never know how well his talents will develop and whether he can be as successful a racing driver as his dad. Sascha Lenz will line up in 3rd place. Sascha will be pleased with that, to be fair. Good for the championship. Again, it's just damage limitation. So there is your pole sitter, Jochen Hahn. And he will go into scrutineering for everything to be checked over. And then the team will prepare for the first race, which will be later on today. Of course, there are support series as well here with us in Most this weekend, including Euro NASCAR. But as you've seen here, only the truck that gets pole position in Superpole will go through to scrutineering to make sure everything is checked over and that the truck is legal. Great to have fans back in the paddock as well. Obviously, we did have fans at the Nürburgring, but sorry, at the the Hungaroring, but they were sort of kept separate from the paddock itself, of course, due to the coronavirus pandemic. But now we are able to get them back with us, and this is a fantastic view here from, I believe, on board one of the golf buggies, looking back at Shane Brereton following us through the paddock. Shows he's still, despite these trucks being smaller than the trucks you see on the road, they are still very, very big, tall machines. And they are not to be messed with. Shane Brereton will be pleased though, 8th position overall. He qualified 11th yesterday, so it's a good improvement for him. You can see the gorgeous white frame and chassis of that number 17 truck. Great shots here though as we follow him through. Sascha Lenz already parked up in his awning there. Same with Jamie Anderson. And there goes the golf buggy as well. With Shane Brereton, you had Antonio Albacetti on the right of your screen for a moment. And now you'll see the slow speed manoeuvrability of these trucks as well, as Shane pops it into reverse. And we'll park it underneath the awning for the team to get to work and make sure everything is prepared properly for the 3rd race of the weekend and the 1st race of the day. Like a glove, as a very famous film character would say. Conditions still very interesting here, though, at Autodrom Most. It's not really the hottest of days, but the circuit is staying dry so far, which is one of the main things that we have to consider. We've not had anywhere near the sort of rain that we had yesterday. Not really had any rain at all, to be honest, but it's not been hot enough to completely dry the track out. It's still been a little bit greasy from the other series that have been out there, putting rubber down on the surface as well. And of course, these trucks sort of exaggerate that massively when they go out there. But here we get a lovely look at just how well prepared and how clean these trucks are and how tidy they are. And look at the size of the turbocharger. It's ridiculous, isn't it? So here's your result then from Superpole and from qualifying. Jochen Hahn takes his first pole position of the season ahead of Norbert Kish. Sascha Lenz will line up on row 2 alongside Adam Lachko. Anthony Janiak and Theo Calve make it a French row 3 ahead of Antonio Albacete and Shane Brereton. It's then a German row 5. René Reiner and Steffi Halm lining up 9th and 10th. Behind them, Andre Kurzin with some work to do from 11th ahead of Jamie Anderson, with Lucas Hahn in 13th ahead of Stefan Faas. Then it's Alia Kolok at her home race ahead of Luke Garrett, and Heinrich Clementecker, after having his lap time deleted, will start at the back of the grid in 17th position. But you can see some slight heat haze there actually here in Most, so that proves to me that it's probably not as cold as it looks, to be honest with you. And we have Christina back with us for another interview.
Yes, it is Shane Brereton. We followed you. You may have noticed in our golf car. Congratulations, 8th after Superpole. This is quite a success.
Yeah, I was very pleased with that. I was 4 tenths up on my second lap, and Rennie outbraked himself and then become in the way. Just one of them things. Otherwise, I might have bettered my time, but it's the unknown.
You're currently ranked 2nd in the Goodyear Cup, so it would be very important for you getting some more points, starting from position 8. What does that mean for you?
Yeah, it's very important. We made a few calls yesterday with the weather. We didn't quite have the right setup. It was a little bit of a guessing game, really. We were pleased with what we done. We were compromised from qualifying, really, and Theo did drive very well.
Yes, absolutely, he did. Really great job. But you did also. So it is the main goal, first to stay on the circuit due to these conditions, and then second, not to lose maybe a position, and then?
Yeah, just keep plugging away, really. I'm happier that I'm further up the grid, so just stay out of trouble, and I feel a lot more confident with the truck today. So hopefully we've got something we can use better.
Thank you very much, Shane Brereton. So this is the inside perspective you got here from us in the paddock. Shortly back to you, Chas.
Thank you very much, Christina. And what a fantastic session we've had once again here at Most, really setting us up for a great day's racing. Jochen Hahn and Norbert Kish on the front row for the second time this weekend, but in the completely opposite order to what we had in the first race of the day. Jochen's going to have his work cut out to keep everybody behind him, though. It looked like in yesterday's races that he wasn't quite able to hold them off as well as he would have liked to. But that's just part of racing sometimes. It is not the easiest thing at all. But we'll be back with you later on for the first race of the day. But final words from Christina before we go. I will catch you later on.
Yes, as you were been saying, final words. I just wanted to show you that the fans are back in the paddock. Isn't that so great? Some catching some autographs, some photos are taken, and this is really nice seeing all of you back. And I hope you will join us later on in our live streams on YouTube or Facebook. So thank you very much. Thank you, Ches Dreichert. Good job, Joachim Eberts, and good job, our cameraman, Sean, here from the golf cart.